Welcome back, guys. So we can carrying on from where we left off by making introduction into Maya. So let's talk about some of the tools we have in here. Let's talk about some of the tools we have in here. Okay. So I'm just going to delete this. I'm going to delete this for now. Then let's drop in a cube. So I'll hold Shift key, right click and hold. Make sure interactive creation is turned on. Shift click, right click and hold. Let's create a cube. So I'll hit the space bar. I'll go to the top view. Then I'll just zoom out like so. And I'll just create a cube like this. So once you kind of draw this out initially, so this is just going to create like a flat 2D surface of this. It kind of make this a 3D surface. You just have to left click and hold and then drag this up. Then if you go to the, if there's space bar again, go to the front view, you zoom out like so. We have this created with an height like so. So let's repeat that again. Let's just repeat that again. Then to frame into the object, once you have the object selected, just hit the F key. Okay, but that kind of frame into the selected object. And make sure this display is turned off. Go to heads up display. Turn off fully count. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to create that again. So shift right click and hold. As you can see. You can see this on the other views now. From the front view, it's kind of flat. Side view also flat. Even the perspective view also flat. So let's come here and drag this up, kind of create an height for it. So now you can actually see what's happening from all sides of the viewport. So now with that out of the way, now this is the object, or this is on object mode. This is object mode. So now if we go to vertex mode, I can just select this vert. I'll hit W on the keyboard to go to the translate tool. Now I can move this like so. Now if I go to the edge mode, I can select any of this edge. Let's select this edge, and I'll go to the, I'll hit the E key on the keyboard. I will go to the rotate tool. I can rotate this however way I want, but you don't see too much of a difference because it's just majorly a flat surface. But if I kind of rotate this like so, you can see something happening in there. So depending on how you want to kind of rotate this. Once you have that selected and you hit the E on the keyboard, if you go to the rotate tool, let's say I want to rotate it this way also. For this to kind of deform the shape, so let's undo that. Okay. So if we hit the R on the keyboard, R key on the keyboard, that should take us to the scale tool. Once you put your mouse cursor on it, you should see the shortcut key for this W E R. Okay. So now let's kind of talk about some of these selection tools in here. Still on the edge mode. Okay, still on the edge mode. So we come in here and select this select tool. So this kind of enable us draw out mark you, rectangular mark you selections around this. So depending on the actual mode or component you're in, that should kind of select it for you. So you come in here to the lasso tool. So if you're familiar with Photoshop, you should be able to understand that this lasso tool allows you to draw freehand selection like so. So now see what I just drew, what the selection I just drew now kind of deselected everything. So just repeat that again to select this particular region, as you can see. So to select multiple regions, all you have to do is to hold down the shift key, then you can select multiple regions like so. But if you still hold down the shift key and you go and draw the selection around new selection edges and previous selection edges, something would happen. So you would have the previous selection edges deselected, and you have new selected edges being selected. So that will so that just tells you that holding shift and then drawing a selection around pre-existing selected regions will kind of deselect that. So to kind of avoid that, and you want to kind of select everything at the same time, both the previously selected edges or faces or vertices, all you have to do is to hold Control and Shift. Now if I do a selection around previously selected edges and new edges, you should have everything selected as one single piece. So you can see now everything selected as one single piece. So that is one key note that is something to kind of keep notes about. Okay. So if I come in here to paint selection, this paint selection more or less like a paint brush kind of, if you don't kind of drag around this, let's see, let's increase. So increase the brush. I don't know why this is not working. Here. To increase the brush size, all you have to do is to hold down the B key on your keyboard, then select, hold and press down the middle mouse scroll. Then you can move this up and down to kind of increase the brush size. But this doesn't seem to be doing. Okay, yes, it's working now. So you just kind of drag around this, kind of make selections over this by clicking. Just click on these edges to kind of select them. It's kind of a bit hard to work with though. For the most part, you should find yourself using mostly this rectangular marquee tool, or this select tool, or the lasso tool. So to go to the selection tool, let me just put my mouse cursor on that. Just click on the Q letter on the keyboard. To go to this lasso tool does not have any shortcut. There's no shortcut for this. Does this have any shortcut also? No shortcut for this also. Okay, so now the last action you kind of perform, not really last action you kind of performed. Most especially maybe for creating object or for using a specific tool. Aside from any of these tools in here, you should have it appear around here. Let's say for example I clicked on let's say bevel. You see this icon kind of updates automatically, and you see how those edges that have been selected has been beveled out. Let's just undo that. Let's say I want to repeat the same previous action, so I'll just hit the G on the keyboard. So hitting the G on the keyboard will kind of take you back to the previous action you just performed, which was the bevel. So the G key allows you to kind of repeat previous action. Let me undo that. Ctrl Z to undo that. Okay. Then let's undo. Let's just create a new. Let's just create. Okay, yes, face mode. So I'm sure it should be self-explanatory also. Selecting this allows you to kind of select faces. Alternatively, you can also right click and hold, kind of select any of these tools in here to kind of use. But if you select the multiple components, This allows you to kind of select both the edges and vertices and the faces all at the same time. If I drag a selection around this now, you should have that vertex selected, the edges selected, and the face also selected. Let's go out of this by clicking the object mode. Let's just do a brief, let's just talk about some of what we have in here. And also if you pay attention, you notice that any object I drop in here, let's say if I drop in a sphere in here, every object kind of creates a new, this is our outline now, better still, in the outline now. Any shape that's been created, you kind of have the object here in the outline now for you to kind of select the object as an individual piece and then work with. So then we have the, let me just select all of this and delete this. Then shift click, right click and shift right click and hold. I'll turn off interactive creation. Okay. Then shift right click and hold. Let me just create a let's just create a cube. Then I'll scale this up. Okay. Then we have our snapping feature in here. We have the snap to grid. So if I select that in there now, I can basically just snap this to the grid. Okay. Then we have the snap to curve. So if you have a curve created in here, so I go to the curves and surface and I kind of create a curve in here. Let me just select this EP curve to kind of draw out something like this. Hit enter to apply that. You can select this, select the snap to curve. So let me just push this out again and show you guys how this works. So this kind of snap to curve point. So I should just drag this like so. It was working just now. I don't know why it's not working anymore. Okay, yes, it's working now. You can see kind of snaps. You can see kind of snaps to curve points. Okay, yes. You can see how it kind of snaps these curve points. You can see just a little move close to the point kind of snaps to it. There's some other ones in there you can also try depending on what you want to create. Let me turn this off. There's also snap to points. So let's say I create a new, no, don't use this. So let's go back to, let's just deselect in an empty screen. Shift right click and hold. Then let's create a sphere. Okay. Then with the snap to point enabled, I'll go to the translate to. You can see I'm moving this now, snap this to the points of this cube. Let's check this from a perspective view. You can see how this is snapped to the point of this part of this cube. So if I drag this up also, see me here also. I'm just moving this from the center. You can see how it snaps to the other side. I'm using the translate to. So that's how you can, that is how you kind of use that to kind of have this moved into a particular vertex point. Okay. Yeah. So now, then we have this. I don't use this so much though. So just leave this off. Then we have symmetry. Let's turn this to object X. So then I'll select this. Let me turn on this snap to points. Selecting this cube, if I go to the vertex mode, you notice that selecting, but you have to kind of make sure, yeah, it is directly on the cube. Sorry, it's directly on the grid rather. Directly on the grid, something like so. So this only works precisely when it's mostly like directly on the grid. Keeping that in mind, so if I select this edge, I should have the other edge also selected, and I can move these two down like so. Okay, so let me turn that off. Then we also have edge loop, edge ring, which is most of what we have. Okay, so to explain this, I need to kind of draw another cube in here. But there's something else we have not really talked about in here. So let's hide all of this. So I'll select this and select this. To hide this, you just go to display, hide, use Ctrl H. So we should have them hidden in here. So shift right click and hold. Let's create a cube. Something in here I've not really talked about. Let's scale this up. If we go to our attribute editor and select this polycube, we can also adjust the size of this, adjust the width, adjust the height, adjust the depth. We can also add more subdivisions to this as we want. So each particular tool that's been created has attributes that you can adjust, but as soon as you start manipulating the shape, you kind of lose this. Like for example, if I go to face mode, select this face, this to hold shift and select this to face, and I move this up. Now most of some of this might not be working accurately because you've started manipulating the shape. You can see how some of these are not working accurately anymore because you've kind of manipulated the shape. So you want to kind of get the shape the way you want it to before you start manipulating it however way you want. Okay. So in this same attribute editor, you have the translate. If I kind of move this off a bit, you can see how this translates. It's actually X, Y, and Z. You can see how this kind of translates this in here. If I do a rotate also, you can see how the value for the X is being affected. Same also if I do something for the scale. Let's scale this in a particular axis. You can see how this is also being affected. So there's some other controls in here you can also play along with. Then we have the shader also being affected. This is the shader. This is the default shader. Like we talked about, when you hold down right click and hold, you can apply a particular shader to it. Like applying the blink shader. This is a more shiny kind of material setup in here. So you can see. Okay, so that's for that. Let's go back. So yes, okay. In this channel box also you can find some of the settings also you find in the attribute editor, like the translate, scale, and rotate, and some other specific settings also for the cube, like for the width, height, depth. Same thing also we had in the attribute editor. Alright, so back to the modeling toolkit. So I was supposed to explain this. So Naturally in Maya, if you should go to the edge mode, you can select an edge. To select an edge loop, just kind of double click on that edge loop and you can select an edge loop. But now if you want to kind of constrain that selection to a particular type of selection, you just have to come in here to selection constraint. Let's say you want to have this only selecting edge loops and nothing else. Just click this edge loop. Then anytime you put your cursor on an edge, you have that entire edge loop being selected. Same with the ring. We have something like so. Okay. Angle. So doesn't seem to do so much though. Okay, we have an angle here. Let's try 45-degree angle. Okay. Now you can see how this is selecting regions. That's regions like so, based on the angle you kind of inputted in there. Let's try 90-degree. Now that is a lot of selection. Okay. So border. Let's see what is actually selected. Nothing is actually even been selected. Let's try. I've tried the edge loop already. I've tried the edge ring. This shell is just specific for just specific for the entire thing, I believe. Or maybe it has something to do with the UVs. But let's leave this for now. We'll talk about this later. Yeah, it's specific to the UVs. UV edge loop. These are kind of specific to UV, so that is how you use that. So now we have the transform constraint. So let's say we do like an edge loop around there, and just double click on this edge loop. Then we have the transform constraint. So on this transform constraint, let's constrain this to edge slide. So now if we, let's say we try to scale this up, you can see it's not scaling out because of this edge slide. It's being constrained to edge slide. We can drag this down like so, but we can't move it in a particular axis. But if we turn this off, we can now move this in a particular axis as we want to. Want to scale this out, we can also scale this out in a particular axis as we want to. We also have the surface slide. You can see how this only scales out on that surface only. You can see how we can move this out of the surface. It's directly on the surface. It's not moving out of that surface. You can see. There are also the other specific uses for this though. So if you want to kind of go to these same settings, the shortcut is just to hold Control and Shift, right click and hold. You have it in here: selection constraint, transform constraint, component. Yes. Another thing what we talk about also is the gizmo gizmo direction for this. This is a gizmo in here. For example, now is on, let's write Control Shift, right click and hold. Now is on component select. If you put this on world select, you can see how the axis, this gizmo actually changes. Put this on world, this gizmo actually changes also. So depending on where you want it to kind of face, to kind of have easy access to kind of move. Let's turn off this. Let's go back to object mode. So I can easily move this in this direction like so. I put this on world. You can actually move this in this direction. But alternatively, you can also manipulate this pivot also. It's called pivot. You can also manipulate the pivots. So the pivot now is directly on the center of the object. If you come back to our poly modeling, you can do, let's say, you can do a center pivot also. This kind of snap this to the center of this object. Let's say we want to kind of manipulate the pivot of this. You can also hit the D key on the keyboard. Then you can move this pivot wherever you want it to. Let's say I move this around. Let's say I move this around somewhere like so. Okay. Then I hit the D key again. So now I should have this gizmo directly on this place. I can move this like so. If I control shift right click and hold, I can actually change this also. Put this in a particular direction. So that's basically how you use that. Then you have our sub selection. If I turn this on, you can go to either vertex, edge, or face mode to kind of actually use this. So let's go to vertex mode and select something like so. You can see. You can also hit the B key, hold it down, middle mouse scroll, hold it down, and drag a selection. Just kind of expand your sub selection around this. Then you can use kind of move this like so. You can see. Okay. Let me turn this off. To kind of turn that on automatically, just hit the B on the keyboard. That will kind of turn that on. That's like the shortcut for that. Okay, so back to this. So let's hide this again, Ctrl H, and review the previous ones we created. Hold down Ctrl, skip a selection, and then Shift H to review that. So let me just show you in here. So display, show, Shift H, that is shortcuts. F to frame into the two of them, because two of them are being selected. So now, the next two in here is this combine. So if I select this, and I select this, watch what happens in here. So I click on the combine, that actually combines these two shapes as one single shape, or one single object rather. So we have them now as one single object in here. Then we have a file, create a group created in here. So to remove that, just come in here and select them, delete by type H3. So that would delete any other history that comes with it. So we have just a single object in there now. Then we also have the separate. So let's say we want to kind of separate this back into individual objects. Just click on this to kind of separate them out. If you see, a group has been created in here now with two separate objects in there. And selecting this, if you click on, yes, one thing I need to kind of mention. If you click on the 3 key on your keyboard, to go to auto smooth. So let's say I just hit 3 on the keyboard. Just kind of send this to auto smooth. This is not actually applied directly on the surface as a subdivided mesh. This is just more or less like a preview of how the subdivided mesh will kind of look like. So to go out to this preview mode of this auto smooth, just hit 1 on your keyboard. So 3 key to go to the auto smooth and 1 to go out of it. Okay, so that is something that you need to keep in mind, because we'll be using that very often while modeling in here. And then let's click on this smooth. This smooth kind of adds more subdivision level to your model. So it's more or less like hitting the 3 key, but this particular one is actually adding the subdivision level on top of the model itself. So we can also increase this value. Let's say put this at 4. You can see how this smooths this out automatically with adding more subdivision levels to it. Let's undo that. Then we have the boolean. So I'll select this. So now you can see how the gizmo is not directly on the model. So let's click on center pivot, kind of center that in, then just push this in here like so. Drag this out put this around here. Let's put this in here like so. I'll select these two, Control D to duplicate them, and just push this aside like so. Then if I select these two, now the order at or by which you kind of select them is quite important. So let me select this cube first, then hold shift and select this sphere. Then I can click on Boolean. So this option should appear in here. So if I should come in here and click on difference, you should have something like so. Click on interception, you should have something like so. Click on difference, put this on normal. There isn't much happening there though. So let's undo that. And let's select this inversely. So select this sphere first and select this cube. And let's do the Boolean again. Difference should have something like this. So it's quite important you keep in mind the order of selection. Very important. The order of selection is very, very important if you kind of get this to work properly. So let's undo that. Then we have the extrude. Let's go to face mode, select this face, and click on the extrude. You can extrude this something out like so. You also have other options in here also. Just left click, just put your mouse cursor on this thickness, left click and hold, then you can move sideways, kind of increase this. Then we can also change the offsets if you want. You can also add more subdivisions to these extruded spaces. See, if you want, let's say you want to have, let's turn off this keep face. Let's say we have multiple selections like this. Then we'll do another extrude. Keep face together off. Then we'll do this. And do an offset like so. So this is kind of treat this as individual pieces on their own. This is going to treat this as an individual piece. Alternatively, you can come in here and select this switch icon and hit the R on your keyboard to go to scale tool and scale this like so. Let's say I select this only and click on extrude. I'll turn this off. I'll hit the arrow on the keyboard. So I can do like more or less like an insert in there. You can do more or less like an insert in there like so. You can see. So that's kind of use that. So now we have the bevel tool. So let's come in here and select. Let's select edges. So double click on this. Double click on this. Double click on this. And I'll use the bevel feature. So now I have this beveled in now. You can turn off chamfer for this. You kind of have more angular edge to it without it being smoothed, rounded up. You can also increase the segments. This is the subdivision level for that. Fraction kind of allows you to expand that out as much as you want. The depth helps you do something more or less like so, which is actually quite nice. Something like so. Okay. So now we have the bridge tool. How do we use the bridge tool? To use the bridge tool, we have to kind of have two objects, select two objects combined. Let's say we want to kind of connect these two together. So we have to come in here and click on combine first. Then we can do select this face, hold shift and select this face. We can do a bridge. So that will kind of bridge these two together like so. So we should automatically have something more or less like this. We also have options in there to kind of taper this side, but to kind of have this twisted properly, you need to have more subdivision level to it, kind of have more refined twisting in there. You want to kind of taper this like so. let's say you want this to be bent, you want this to be in a form of curve fashion. The more subdivision level you add to it, the more you can actually twist this. Okay, so then we have this add subdivision level. Just only, let's say I select this now, add subdivision level. This will only add like more subdivision to this without smoothing it out. So that's different between this smooth and add division. This add division only adds subdivisions to this, but without smoothing it out. Then we have the multi-cut. Multi-cut, with this we can do manual cutting on top of the surface. You can either come in and just drag a selection like this to add the cut, or we can just hold down Control to have a loop cut around this. Let me go out of face mode. Key on the keyboard, deselect. Okay, let's say we want to have a loop across this. Click on the multi-cut. You hold down. It's not working correctly because some of this face. Let's create a new cube for this. Let's create a new cube for this. Let's scale this out. Move this out of the way. Use the multi-cut. If I should hold Control now, it's gonna create a loop selection around this. If I should hold down Shift, it's kind of try to kind of snap to the center of it, or it's kind of snap probably like in an increment. So I click on this to apply this. Let's say I want to do a loop around this, hold Control so to do the same, or just drag a selection around this like so. That kind of cut across this. Okay. Now we have a target where, so this kind of works specifically for a vertex mode. Let's say I want to weld this all the way to this. So I'll just click on this, hold down the left mouse click and hold, selecting that, drag this to the other side. Then that will kind of weld that to that other edge in there. Connect. I'm not too sure. This is just most of the tools you're going to be using most of the time, and some of them are also in here also kind of work with. So this is just a brief introduction to Maya to kind of get you familiar with the interface and how to actually use the interface in here. So let me just undo this. Right. So I'll see you guys in the next lesson.